All right, diving into a world that's about as metal as it gets, and I'm not talking Iron Maiden here.
Definitely not.
Our listener has provided D&D 4.0 Dark Sun campaign setting, which, let me tell you, is a classic for a reason.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's Dark Sun.
Absolutely.
Lucas sees. We're talking scorched wastelands, psychic powers out the wazoo,
Yeah.
and magic that makes you think twice about casting fireball.
It's a very different kind of fantasy world.
Hugely. So for anyone out there who maybe hasn't explored campaign settings before, it's basically like D&D cranked up to 11, right? You got your own unique world with its own rules, history,
Different feel.
and challenges. Different vibe entirely.
Completely different. This one, especially.
And this one, hoo boy.
Yeah.
This is where we find out if you're truly hardcore.
Absolutely. Because it's not a forgiving setting.
Not at all. Like, I was glancing through the source material, and even the calendars are bleak. They don't have numbers, just names like High Sun Sorrow.
Festival of the Cooling Sun.
Yeah, Festival of the Cooling Sun.
It's like, how bad does the sun have to be?
Right.
You've got a festival for when it just merely cools down a little.
Exactly. And that's what I love about this, like, right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's just dripping with atmosphere.
It's oppressive. Like, that's the word I think of.
It's intense.
It's intense.
You feel it.
It's in your face.
Yes. So before we really sink our teeth into this, set the stage for us. What makes Aethys so unique, even among, like, the pantheon of D&D settings?
It's a dying world.
Okay, go on.
That's what makes it so different. The sun is literally killing everything.
Yeah.
Water is more precious than gold, and arcane magic, let's just say it leaves a mark, a really, really bad mark.
Yeah, we'll get into that whole defiling magic thing in a bit.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
But I love how this setting kind of forces you to rethink everything.
Yes. Like,
Yeah.
how do you even be a hero in a world that's actively trying to kill you?
And that's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, totally. Because it's not about being the strongest or the bravest.
Right.
It's about being the smartest, the most resourceful.
Right.
Who can eke out an existence in this world where every drop of water counts? Every scrap of shade is a blessing.
And that just opens up a whole different kind of storytelling, right?
Absolutely. What kind of hero thrives in this environment? What kind of stories do you tell? It's not your typical save the princess from the dragon kind of setting, although I'm sure you could find a way to work that in there if you really wanted to.
No, I'm sure there's a dragon somewhere.
Probably buried under a sand dune.
Right. Guarded by, like, the last oasis or something.
Exactly. But the point is, it's a world that pushes you to be creative, to think outside the box, to really embrace the bleakness and find the hope within it.
And that's what we're going to uncover today, the cruel splendor of Athos.
The cruelty, for sure. But the splendor, oh, that's there too. You just have to know where to look for it.
And it's not just the vibe, right? This book lays down the law, literally, with these 8 characteristics that define Athos.
See, they're not kidding around. Ethos is its own thing.
Totally. And one, I gotta say, kind of blew my mind. Metal as currency.
Oh, for sure. It makes total sense in context.
But think about it. Your fighter, decked out in leathers and bone armor.
Scrambling for scraps.
Right, because that rusty dagger isn't just a weapon.
It's paying your bar tab.
It's how you eat. That's hardcore world building, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It speaks to the scarcity, to how desperate things are. And it's not just metal. Water, food, even shade. Everything is precious in Aethys.
And magic. Well, we'll get to that.
We will, because that's a whole other can of worms.
Speaking of psionics, seems like everyone and their dire warg is throwing mind blasts around here.
Right. Way more common than your typical fireballs and lightning bolts.
Which, I gotta say, pretty cool. But then there's this whole defiling magic thing. What's the deal with that? Mages get a bad dye job or what?
Worse. Think of it like this. Every spell, every magical effect, it draws power from somewhere.
Right, yeah.
In Aethys, that somewhere is, well, everything. The land, the life force, it's all connected. And when a mage casts a spell, it's like a wound in the world. Plants wither, animals get sick, the land itself becomes barren.
Whoa, okay, so it's less casting a spell and more like giving the world a black eye every time.
Pretty much. It's powerful magic, yeah, but it's a double-edged sword. And the sorcerer kings, the rulers of this world, they're the ones wielding the biggest, nastiest swords around.
And they're just cool with that. Like, yeah, we're draining the life out of the planet, but hey, at least we're in charge.
It's more complicated than that. I mean, they're tyrants, sure, but they're also products of this world just trying to survive, to hold on to power. And in Aethys, power often comes at a terrible cost.
Yeah, no easy answers in this setting. So we've got this brutal environment, Magic with a serious downside. What kind of people are tough enough to call this place home?
Well, the book talks about some of the playable races, even the ones you might know from other D&D settings. They're a little different here.
Hmm.
Shaped by the harshness of Athos. Take the Thri-kreen, for example.
Ooh, the mantis people. Those guys are always cool.
Right. And they're perfectly adapted to this world. Their chitinous armor, their natural weapons, their affinity for psionics. Plus, they've got this bite that can paralyze you. Imagine that.
Yeah, no thanks.
It's not just about being strong in Athos. It's about being smart, adaptable, resourceful.
Who else is trying to make a living in this dust bowl of doom?
Well, you've got the moles. Now, these guys are tough, strong, resilient, not afraid of a little hard work.
Sounds like good adventuring stock.
They'd make great barbarians, fighters. Except a lot of them, they're enslaved. A consequence of the Sorcerer Kings and their way of doing things.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah. So to play a mule is to grapple with that legacy, the history of oppression, the potential for rebellion. Makes for a really interesting character, especially in a setting like this.
For sure. So you've got all these different people all struggling to survive, and this magic system that's, like you said, kind of poisoning the world from the inside out. Is anybody fighting back against that?
That's where the Veiled Alliance comes in. They're this secretive group, right?
Yeah.
Trying to find a different path for magic. A way to use it without destroying everything.
Like a magical environmentalist group.
Exactly. They're trying to heal Ethas, not bleed it dry. It's a dangerous game, though. Magic is power in this world, and the Sorcerer Kings don't give up power easily.
Ooh, intrigue. I like it. So, playing a Veiled Alliance character, you're not just casting spells, you're fighting for the soul of Ethas itself.
That's what's so cool about Darksun. It's more than just a setting, it's a pressure cooker. It forces you to ask these big questions, to make these tough choices. There's no easy answers, just survival.
So we've got these desperate people, this powerful but dangerous magic system. I gotta imagine the monsters in Ethos are pretty hardcore, too.
Oh, absolutely. We're not talking to your run-of-the-mill goblins and kobolds here.
Right, everything's got to be bigger, badder, and probably carrying a canteen full of water just to survive. What kind of creatures are we up against in this world?
Well, this source mentions silt runners, for one.
Silt runners, those like giant lizard things that burrow through the
And
sand?
them. But they don't just burrow and bite, my friend. They also pack a psionic punch.
No kid.
Oh, yeah. It's all about adaptation in Aethers. And these things have adapted to not only survive, but thrive in this brutal environment.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting some serious tremors just thinking about running into one of those in the middle of a sandstorm.
And then there are the Braxads.
Braxats, okay, those sound even worse. What are we talking about here? Like giant scorpions with armor plating?
Think bigger. Imagine a creature that's basically a walking fortress, covered in bony plates, and strong enough to bring down a giant.
And they probably eat silt runners for breakfast, right?
You're getting the picture.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. Braxats are resistant to psionics, so even your mind blasts won't do much good against these guys.
Okay, so that's just not fair. This world is hardcore.
You said it. And if you thought those were scary, wait till you hear about the Dragon's Bowl.
The Dragon's Bowl, what is that? Some kind of gladiatorial arena?
It's this massive crater, see? And nobody knows quite how it got there. Some say it was a meteor. Others whisper about ancient magic gone wrong.
Ooh, I love a good mystery. So what makes it so terrifying?
Well, even the Braxats won't go near the place.
Okay, you had me at Braxats won't go near it. Something tells me that's where our next campaign is going to be set.
And then there's the Black Sands. Now, if you thought the rest of Aethas was unforgiving, this place is where hope goes to die.
Grim. What's so bad about it? Besides the name, which is, already pretty ominous.
The Black Sands are home to raiders who are even tougher and more ruthless than those found anywhere else in Aethas. And there are rumors of even worse things lurking in those sands.
Undead hordes. Lost cities swallowed by the desert.
Who knows? That's the thing about Aethas. Half the adventure is just surviving long enough to uncover its secrets. But that's what makes it so compelling, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about these brutal landscapes, these terrifying monsters, this magic system that's literally killing the planet. How do players even survive in a D&D campaign set in Aethos?
Ah, that's the beauty of it. Darksun forces you to think outside the dungeon, to be creative, resourceful. You can't just rely on your sword arm or your spell book. This source even talks about how the skill challenge system from 4th edition really shines in this setting.
Okay, refresh my memory. What are skill challenges again?
Basically, it's a way to make those non-combat encounters just as exciting and tense as a dragon fight. So instead of just rolling to hit, you're rolling to navigate a sandstorm, to scavenge for water, or to haggle with a merchant who might just slit your throat and steal your boots if you look at him funny.
It's a different kind of challenge, not just about how hard you can hit, but how well you can survive.
Precisely. Because in EFAs, every day is a challenge. And that's what makes it so rewarding. When you do succeed, when you manage to carve out a little piece of this world for yourself, it means something. You've earned it.
So it's not your typical heroic fantasy. It's grittier, more desperate. You're not saving the world, you're just trying to survive it.
Exactly. It's a world where even the smallest victories feel earned, where hope is a precious commodity, and where the heroes are forged in the fires of survival.
A dying world, powerful magic, terrifying creatures, and a glimmer of hope in the darkness.
Sounds about right.
That's Uthis for you. And if you're looking for a D&D setting that's as challenging as it is rewarding, I can't recommend it enough.
Just remember to pack extra water.
And sunscreen. Lots and lots of sunscreen. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.